Anyway, the Brandons are here. Brandon Matthews, Brandon Doss, co-pastors of Cultivate Church in Alabaster. Love these guys and always brag on Cultivate because they gave us the first donation that they ever sent out of their doors.
Yeah.
Way back when. And I was blown away. And I think that was our first big donation too. Did you bring that to me before we were even on the air? I can't remember.
I think you guys were kind of in the very launch stages at the moment. Yeah, you guys were still tooling up for your big launch, I'm pretty sure.
That's what it was, yeah, because, I mean, I was way back in 2011.
Yep.
And it's mind-blowing. But these guys have such a heart, and neither one of you are from Alabaster.
No. No.
and God called them for some reason way back, over 4 years ago. 5 years ago now, I guess, is when all the planning was going on, right?
Yeah.
And so to go to Alabaster, Alabama, and Alabaster's a great place. It's obviously growing. There's a lot going on there, some big schools, and it's just, they won't brag on themselves, but I will brag. But just following God and having no idea where you're going, but believing and having that faith. But I'm really excited about this, and luckily you guys have gotten some TV time. I don't know, has the newspaper guy called you or anything like that?
We haven't heard from local Birmingham news. We talked to the Christian Post out of New York on Friday. They're going to be running a story, should be sometime this week. And then obviously we appreciate NBC 13 for showing up and just supporting positivity.
None of other people have called you yet?
We haven't heard from any of those other folks yet.
I'll get on the horn today. We'll make that happen.
We need some positivity.
What's wrong with you people? What's wrong with you? No, I'm going to be negative and be like, hey, why hadn't you called me yet?
We're waiting on some negative news. Don't bring that positive stuff.
No, I'm just going to be negative, like, why are you such a jerk and not calling my friends like I asked you to. All right, anyway, so God's not white. Light bulb.
God's not white.
Right? Okay, so, I mean, there's obvious reasons of what's going on in the world, why this is a series for you guys starting in September, but just why?
Yeah, well, when we planted the church, this was our heart when we started the church. We moved to Shelby County excited that there were culture in the area,
right.
And because the county's growing, more and more people of different culture moving in. So we really have had a heart for our church to look like our community and to look like the church that Jesus desired to have, in John, he's saying, hey, I wish we'd all be one. Yeah. So that's kind of been the heart of our church. So we've been talking about this through the whole thread of our foundation. And so last October when we were praying through our series, we said, we feel like God's really calling us to do something about this. And then obviously all year long, you can just see what's going on in the world around us. But we just tell our church, hey, we don't want to be white people living life on purpose. We want to look like our community. We want to look like the church that Jesus prayed for. So, if you Google God, you get a white man. You get a beautiful white Jesus with blue eyes and stuff. And we've just got this culture about what we anticipate about God. And so our churches just kind of look that way in our own respects. Right. So, Dawson and I just said, we're going to lead our church differently. We're going to look like the church Jesus prayed for.
Yeah, he was definitely not Aryan.
Sure.
There's no doubt about that. Oh, geez. For you, Doss, just seeing the reaction and everything from the church members and just the need, what have you been really noticing?
It's crazy how big. Well, I mean, we prayed about this in October.
Yeah.
And then and said, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then all of a sudden this year, 2015, it's been almost a revival of sorts of civil rights and all of the stuff from 52 years ago.
Right.
Martin Luther King said it 52 years ago. It's the most segregated hour of everyone's week, and it's continued to be that way. And so we just began to pray over it and tell our church. We told our church in January, hey, this is going to be the direction our church is going. And then we went public with the title of the series just a couple of days ago, and it's been a pretty big uproar. So it's a button on everyone's heart, whichever side you fall and whatever you think about social issues and all that stuff. Everyone's thinking about it. So when we told everybody, hey, God's not white, and it's a huge it's kind of crazy, but the truth is we're trying to draw everybody's attention back to Jesus. God's not white. It's not about race. It's not about color. It's not about social status or financial. It's not about any of that stuff. If we could point the local church back to Jesus completely, we really do believe we can make a difference in what culture sees it as a race thing. Culture sees it as a social thing, and we see it as a Jesus thing.
Amen.
So,
amen.
And it's sad, John, that the church hasn't addressed this yet. Why is it still?
I agree.
Why is it after all these years from Martin Luther King making a statement, hey, something's wrong with the church? Why is no one talking about this today? Why is it not a big deal? Why has it not been corrected? And so we just feel like if we can encourage churches, regardless of who they are, where they are. We had some pastors say, "Man, I need to do that series. I'm going to steal it."
I said, "Yeah,
steal it, do it, teach
yeah.
it." Yeah, that's what it's not about. Just cultivate. It's about if whoever's listening and you lead people and you're responsible for influence in your community, why are you not talking about it? Why are you not encouraging people to fill up our churches with people who don't just look like you? And, I think if the church would take a stand and we were all talking about this, we would make a difference in the culture and the community around us.
You guys have done the legwork. Now you can just send out the packets to everybody.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Take it. Do it. Just make it a part of the heart of your church. I mean, imagine if this became a priority to churches, if this was a priority to people who lead and influence other people. And just as much as we teach people about grace and love and serving and giving and all of these things, what if we taught people to do life on purpose, to reach out to people who aren't just like you? So on purpose, our churches don't look just like we look.
Right.
We do everything else so that our churches are formed and made and move in a direction. So why not make it a community thing where we say, you know what, we want you to be a part of our church. We don't want you just to rent our church, have a church in our church,
right.
But we want you to be a part of our church.
Amen.
Let's do life together.
All things to all people,
That's
Jew
right.
and Gentile, man. It's a beautiful mindset, and it's the way it's got to be. And we've tried to desegregate everything else. We might as well get through the doors. You're right. I mean, 50-something years. But the real question is, you want to go back, and has it always been that way? Have we always been separated that way? I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder, even way back, with the disciples and everything, where was there separation then?
Sure.
You know? So just
well, there had to have been, because
Yeah.
even in religious divide and culture of the day, Jesus made that prayer, and today, a lot of people say, was it really that big of a deal? Do we really face that today? And 8 out of 10 churches still have one predominant racial group in their church. But also, statistics say that the majority of people say our church is fine. We don't have a problem. So that shows that people are just confused, that they can't look around and go, you know what, something's not right here.
Yeah.
Something is missing here. So I do think that people just don't take it, they don't take it as a responsibility that we have. They don't take it that something's wrong, because the more comfortable we are, surrounded by people who look like we look, think like we think, act like we act, and as long as everything's okay and safe, well, then everything's good.
Yeah.
Instead of going, you know what, we're missing something here. There's a part of our community that we're not reaching, and we need to make make it known that we want people to find Jesus and live life with us.
Why are we separated? Why are we not reaching out? What's going on?
Right.
That's right.
So make that difference. God's Not White, the September series from Cultivate Church, cultivatechurch.tv.
Mm-hmm. And godsnotwhite.com.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, godsnotwhite.com. We want people to be able to go there. It's not just about Cultivate, but godsnotwhite.com is a great place to kind of hear about what this is about. Find some up-to-date today's statistics. Some links are on there, and then also a contact form. If you maybe there's people out there that are listening, maybe who've been hurt by church or hurt by race, or they're hurt or discouraged by what's going on in the country, and they just want to talk about it. They want to have a safe place to go. You know what? This is bogus. If this is what Jesus looks like, I don't want Jesus. We've got people who think that way because the church has misrepresented who Christ is. So people can go on there and talk to us. It's a safe place just to share their heart, and we'll be glad to talk with people and pray for them, talk them through whatever they're going through, or whatever the case may be.
It's a smart move. I see this being more of a movement than just a series.
That's right.
So yeah, godsnotwhite.com. So check that out and get all the details. These guys are hanging out all hour long. If you got any questions or anything, feel free to text in 805-2-TEXT us. The full 10 digits there, 805-283-9887. You can also call in 205-402-4267. Brendan Matthews, Brendan Doss from Cultivate Church hanging out right here on the Morning Overload. Revocation Radio, that is Family Force 5. Sweep the leg. And by the way, those guys for free this Saturday in Fuego 2015.
What?
Not just them. Oh, man, 7th Time Down, Trip Lee, OBB, Humble Tip, JD the Iceman Anderson will be breaking stuff. You know you like it when big people be breaking stuff, man. I'm pretty pumped about that, personally. So it's going to be good stuff going down in Fuego 2015. The website, infuegoinfo.com, which Fuego's not too far from Alabaster, you two.
That's
Just
it.
letting you know. The Brandons are here. Brendan Doss, Brendan Matthews, co-pastors over at Cultivate Church in Alabaster. The God's Not White series kicks off. Let's see, what is it, next Sunday? 2 Sundays from now?
Yeah, September now.
Yeah, 2 Sundays from now. So all of September, the God's Not White series. And they're not trying to be controversial. They're just trying to be truthful. I mean, to be honest with it all, segregation is still killing us in the churches. We don't understand why, whether it's a comfort thing or whatever. But there's so many out there that just need to be reached, and that's the direction I want to kind of go in this time. And there's a couple ways we can do this. How do you guys deal with the people that say, well, you're going to be coming, if you're trying to desegregate the church or whatever, you're going to try to come into, let's make it separated again.
Yeah.
You're going to try to come into our black churches and take our black members and bring them to your white church. That's not what this is all about, right?
No, it's not. It's not at all. The truth is there's enough people who don't know Jesus from every background, from every culture. I'm reminded of John chapter 4 where Jesus met the woman at the well, and he didn't make it a social issue, but she did. She said, "Hey, why are you even talking to me? I'm a Samaritan. You're Jewish. We don't do that." And it wasn't about him, but here's a woman from a different culture that neither culture was reaching. Right. Nobody was reaching. She was ostracized from everyone, and obviously had lived a life of sin. But Jesus was the one that loved her. He was the one that reached out, and it wasn't a social issue. He said, "Hey, I don't, whatever you think." And she was trying to bring up all of these different cultural issues and religious issues and all these different things and questions. And he's like, "All I want to do is give you living water." That's it. That's us. There's plenty of people who don't know Jesus, and we just want to illuminate Jesus and lift him above culture, lift him above race issues, lift him above color or any of that kind of stuff. We just want to point to Jesus, and there's plenty of that to go around for all of us. And I think if we would get our eyes off of our cultural issues and take our eyes off of that and put our eyes toward Jesus, then I don't think that would be an issue.
And not only those cultural issues, but why are we worried about who's taking our people and where people are going where?
Agreed.
That's right.
As church leaders, if we stop worrying about that and worry about what God's called us to do, everything would take care of itself.
That's right.
Because if every pastor, every leader who are influencing people in our churches would say, you know what, above all, we want to reach people of all races, of all backgrounds, and everyone did that in their community, our churches would look more like what Jesus prayed for.
That's right.
And so I'm not worried about anybody from our church going to a quote-unquote black church or Hispanic church in our town because they're beginning to care about looking like the church Jesus prayed for. I just hope and pray that somebody goes somewhere, and if every community would do it, we would reach our entire community and not a segment or just a portion of the population.
Boom.
And we teach our church this anyway. It's not about we don't do church for the people sitting in these chairs anyway. We are the church. Exactly. We're the hope of the world. So it's not about we're not about catering to our own needs. We need to cater to the needs and the hope that we need to bring to the community around us.
It's
the city
about
around us.
Purpose, not about preference.
And what you guys do, you obviously as the body of Christ, we do church beyond Wednesdays and Sundays.
That's right.
I mean, it's living life. It's being there for people. It's being in the community. And you guys are great at that, and I always want to commend you for it because whenever there's community stuff going on in Alabaster, Cultivate Church is set up there and loving on people.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. Now, I want you to share, because we were talking about this off the air, you guys trying to dive more into the community on Wednesday night. You had a little excursion, right?
We did, yeah. We went to a church, an African-American church in our city. We called the pastor, and said, hey, we want to come. We just want to be in your church, and we want to practice what we're preaching. We want to get in there and get in the culture. And, it's one of those thoughts because of all the stuff in the media. I mean, if we can just be honest and real, I had this moment in the middle of worship in this church, being only two guys out of a whole racial group, and I looked at Brandon Dawson. I said, "Hey man," I said, "Do you think we're making these people feel uncomfortable because of what we've seen in the news and what's happened in shootings in churches?" And I just said, I it's bad that we have this thought. It's bad to walk into church just because you are different and have this feeling that you're making people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's what the news is doing. The news is putting this spotlight on all this negativity and all this division and all the divide, and it's creating this space between all of us, when if we would all go back to what's most important, and that is Christ, and put Him first, we shouldn't be able to walk in churches and feel that way. Mm-hmm. There is still a problem today, and unless as leaders we address it, it'll never be corrected.
It'll never change.
So these guys are going to be putting out resources and things like that. I'm guessing you're going to be recording all the services, put them on godsnotwhite.com.
Correct.
As far as the study material and everything, what you've been coming up with for your own personal stuff, is that going to be available as well? What all is on godsnotwhite.com?
Yeah, as it grows, all the resources will be added. So every Sunday, people who don't even, who are not in our area, who don't attend our church, can see what we're doing and what we're talking about. All of our message outlines, all the notes, all the resources that we use will be added to God's Not White weekly. And so when the series concludes and leaders get to take a look at it, the whole package deal, what's been done, and go, you know what, my community, my church could really benefit from this, then they have the opportunity to take what we've done and recreate it, make it their own. But we want people just to make this a part of the fabric of their church, the culture of their church, and start leading their community in this direction. Yeah. So anything we have, anything we can offer, anything that we've done, we want to make it available to other people. Yeah. And even if it's something that people feel like, you know what, I don't know how to lead my church in this way. I don't know how we prepare for something like this. Because this isn't new to our church. Our church isn't taken off guard by this. Right. We've been preparing this and planning. So we want to be available to even help people learn to lead their church in this direction.
Wow. I'm thinking about the potential here, you know, and we were talking about this off the air. I mean, I really foresee this becoming more than just a series, but yet a movement. I pray that people pick up on this, that you guys are able to make a conference out of this, and just to see the cultures blend. Yeah. You know, even if, so, you know, say for example, you're predominantly white church, predominantly black churches, whatever, you're Hispanic and all that. I mean, you know, they're gonna, Lord willing, maintain their members and not lose people.
Sure.
But as these conferences, you know, I'm just thinking future here. Yeah. These conferences come together. That conference could be the place where all the cultures meet.
That's right. That's right.
And then, you know, start to have that more open mindset, trying to reach out to the different races and things like that.
That's right.
To take their predominantly black church and blend it, take their predominantly white church and blend it.
Yeah.
And continue to reach the lost, and again, not do this picking and choosing, trying to grab from other churches. Yeah. But man, I mean, the Christians are there. Let's go for the non-Christians.
That's right. Your church ought to look like your city, and it's the truth. It ought to look like your city. And if your city is, if your city is multicultural, then our churches, I really do believe, as leaders of a church, as pastors of a church, that if we don't lead our church in that direction and begin to look like our city, then we're sinning, and we're missing people. We're missing the mark, and we're missing the people that God called us to. God didn't call us to all the white people in Shelby County. He didn't do that. He didn't call us to that. He called us to the people who need Jesus in Shelby County. And that goes, and that same sentence, that goes for every culture, every background, every leader, black, white, Hispanic. He didn't call us to just those people. We're all believers. We're all going to be in heaven together, and we need to be in church together.
There's plenty of room.
And John, it's not to beat up on pastors. It's not saying, hey, you guys are doing this on purpose, or that we've done this on purpose.
Exactly, I agree.
That's right. It's just sometimes we just get caught up in our daily routine, the people who are around us, and that's kind of what we target and we reach.
Yeah.
So anything has to be done on purpose. So I'm just saying, let's change our mindset. Yes. And let's just focus on being that church, being what Jesus prayed for. And it takes being intentional. It takes doing it on purpose, but it can be done.
That's right.
And you're right, and you get comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's what you're used to, and you have a methodology that you go to, that you reach these particular people with.
Sure.
It may not be effective for the others, but you know, you've got to change your mindset, and you've got to get out of that zone. So
that's right.
I love it. You've got to be uncomfortable in ministry, because if you get comfortable, then something's
wrong. Yeah, that's right. Because this is stretching us. It's not like this is normal. I grew up in a predominant, you know, country white church. You know, I mean, honestly, I can remember being a kid and remembering somebody of a different race walking in our doors, and everyone turning around backwards. You know, shotgun style church. You know?
Yeah.
So everyone turns around and looks at that person and was like, well, I didn't know we had someone like that lived in our community. You know, I mean, I remember that as a kid.
Right.
And so it's not like this is just the norm for us. It's a stretching, but it's something we feel it's the heart of God, and we feel convicted to lead the charge in making it happen.
Awesome stuff going on. CultivateChurch.tv, the website for the church, if you want to check out godsnotwhite.com. That's going to have all the details on this series, and we want you to get involved. You can at least watch it online. Maybe you don't live close. Maybe you're in Tuscaloosa listening to this. You want to check it out. They will have all that stuff posted as soon as possible after each sermon and everything. So lots of materials and everything. If you have any questions, 805-2-TEXT us. The number to text in, that's 805-283-9887. You can also call in 205-402-4267. One more segment to go. Get those questions in as soon as possible. God's Not White with Cultivate Church. Brendan Matthews and Brandon Doss on the Morning Overload. Revocation Radio, that is Fanatic featuring Ed Meha and Swoop, and it's called Sick With It on your Monday Morning Overload. And yes, it does say wit. It doesn't say with. My Caucasian is showing by saying it that way, but I'm just being honest. It says wit, not with. So stick with it. I'm not trying to be hip. I'm just trying to announce the name of the song, crying out loud. So it's 8:51 on the show. It is the Morning Overload. Grateful for you, John Walden, hanging out till 10 a.m. as always. Coming up in the next few moments, do not forget the not Apparel FX anymore. That's the impossible question. It used to be the top 5 at 9. Top 5 at 9 countdown. No sponsor. If you got money, you want to spend it, let me know. Top 5 at 9 countdown is next. So 5 songs in a row. You choose all 5. You become the DJ of the hour. Your name. You're going to be radio famous like 15 or 20 minutes. So jump on it. Email me, john@myrevradio.com. You can also text in 805 to text us. Easy and simple. Type up your 5 favorite songs. Let me know. Let me know if you want to hear 5 songs of your choosing. Got it, good. Final few moments here with my buddies, the Brandons, if you will. Brandon Matthews, Brandon Doss, co-pastors over at Cultivate Church in Alabaster. And no, Alabaster is not in our listening area as much as we wish it was. But the thing is, this transcends beyond the area and the actual church where this is happening. And these guys, I love it because, you know, you got a couple of young pastors here, early 30s, that are just trying to do something different. You know, these guys, I love these guys. I've known them for a long time. And you can't help but not promote and talk about what's happening here. Not just because I love you guys and I think you're awesome and I know where your hearts are, but this is real and it's old.
Yeah.
It's time to stop. God's Not White is the series that's going on in September, and if you can't attend Cultivate Church in Alabaster, they're giving you a buy. You can check out the website, godsnotwhite.com, because it goes well beyond Cultivate Church. This is a mindset that Christians should have, and yes, we're calling out our church. We're calling out our people here. We've got to change it. We've got to change some things. Let's go after the lost. Let's go after different cultures. Let's get our churches mixed in, Jew and Gentile and Samaritans and everybody else. I mean, come on, let's get them rolling.
That's right.
So these guys are here. We got one comment coming in from Ray in Tuscaloosa. He says, if racism can't be confronted in the church and the pulpit, then where can it be confronted?
That's right.
You know, he's grateful to hear that it's happening at that church. So grateful for you guys.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So as we wrap up this final segment here and really want to make sure that we touch on everything, do you guys feel like, okay, so you've definitely got 4 messages, right? It's
right.
For sure going to be 4
Absolutely.
Sundays.
Yeah.
How often do you do this? How do you add new material when you do the series again next year? What's the next step? I want to kind of know, okay, so what is the mindset beyond September and what all you're going to make available on the website first? Mm-hmm. And then I actually want to know just some of the research. I want to know some of the numbers as far as how many churches actually are kind of multicultural and the percentages on that.
Yeah.
So,
you know, I think in terms of where we go from here in September, you know, for our church, you know, we've been laying the groundwork since we launched as a church in 2012. Right. But there are some churches out there who are saying, you know, we've never addressed this in our church. It's just who we are. So it's harder for them to start and to turn the tide of where they are. So we hope to start a conversation with people. We hope to start a journey. We realize we didn't get here overnight. Right. And it's not going to be corrected overnight. And we're not naive enough to think that 4 weeks of a message series is going to change it all either. So we're just saying let's just begin a process together. And so we hope that people who are listening, who are interested in being a part of being the church that Jesus prayed for us to be, would just take the journey along with us and that we could do this together. And that people who are saying, how do we lead this way? How do we correct where we are? That we can take this journey together and we can rejoice together, that we can walk each other through difficult seasons of trying to, because you know the truth is you get a lot of negativity. When you start out going against culture, you get a lot of negativity. People think you have a motive. People think there's something behind it. So people are going to have to just assess, are they willing to take that risk in their own churches? But we can definitely take that journey together. And we want to provide as much support as we go from here. So we're not saying when September's done, we're over. You know, we're beginning a process that we're willing to walk out with people and just take the long journey.
Can you guys see this becoming something you take to churches on Wednesday nights if they'll have you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we would love to just start the conversation with people and anybody that wants to be a part and feel and says, hey, that resonates with us. And we know it's going to be hard. We know, you know, statistics say that most people would say, hey, we're good where we are. We don't really need this. We don't really need to expand the racial divide or whatever in our church. Or most people are comfortable where they are. So, and I think a lot of that is just ignorance. I mean, I really do. I think they are where they are, and they've thought, well, that was, they think when they think social issues, they think 1960. They think that's what happened way back then. Yeah, and
that's what they say.
And we're not. We're just not beyond it.
Not in the church, at least.
I think one of the scarier things is it's become a silent. It's become, what everybody thinks, but nobody's talking about it anymore. And they are this year. Yeah. But unfortunately, the loudest conversation have been negative conversations, and we think the loudest conversation needs to be Jesus.
Yeah. And if we're really leading our communities, when culture's falling apart and in fear and they don't know how to respond to what they're seeing, how do we respond? What do we do? And they look to the church. There was a point in time where the churches made a difference in our communities.
That's right.
And people look to the church for leadership and direction. And I think it's time that we start speaking about the issues that are out there and stop pretending that it doesn't exist. So for all those pastors that say, you know what, I wish somebody would just come in and tell my church. Maybe they don't want to be the one to tell them.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
we can come speak it and lead. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can say it and we can cast a vision for it, and then it sets the groundwork. It sows a seed for a pastor to start then tending to that seed that's planted.
That's right.
So if there's people out there that say, you know what, I would really love to have someone come in and share this heart vision with my church, because that's where I want my church to go. If they want us to come plant a seed in their church and serve them and present where we are, and just repurpose people's mind and vision toward what Jesus prayed for, and then let that pastor continue just to work that seed, then we would be glad to serve any people out there, any pastors, any leaders who have a heart for this same thing.
Yeah, it's something I see, and this is just kind of popped into my head, and maybe this is where we can start. What I've noticed is that it's a lot easier in youth groups in predominantly white churches to be multicultural.
Right.
Because these kids are pretty good about inviting their teammates, their classmates, stuff like that. Why does that stop once they become adults? Because don't act like your workplace isn't multicultural. Most people work with multiple cultures and races within their workplace. So how do you equip them as adults?
Well, that happens because we have to be taught racism.
That's right.
That's true.
We're not born with that. We don't have that. Kids don't see color, and as they grow up and as they become part of where the culture that they're engrossed in, that's what happens.
Wow.
And I think part of that is we stop teaching it, to our children. Silently or vocally or whatever that is, we have to stop teaching that to our children. I've got a 5-year-old; she doesn't see color, and we'll never teach her that. She'll never learn that from us. Hopefully, as she grows up, that'll be something that we stop. But the truth is, we've all been taught in the cultures that we are. And people say, well, that's a Southern thing. It's not a Southern thing. It's not. It's everywhere you go. You're taught, and that's what we've learned growing up. And we've got to stop teaching our kids. We've got to stop teaching generations that's just how it's always been, and that's how it's always going to be. We've got to stop. We've got to, at some point, it's got to stop, and we've got to go in another direction.
And be willing to overcome. I remember years ago, Pastor Brendan Dawson and I were on staff together. I did student ministry, did kids ministry. We used to bus in kids from. if a kid would stand and get in the thing, we would squeeze them in and drag them to church.
Awesome.
And I'll never forget. This is the truth. Our pastor came to us one time and said, "You know what? We're going to have to stop bringing some of these kids to church." Because we were literally in some neighborhoods where, like, the kids picking up was like, "Hey, you can't drive through here sitting straight up. Lean the seat back." It was like you just had to. You knew where you were, and we were bringing in these kids. Love these kids, great kids. And our pastor came to us and said, "You know what? I think we're going to stop picking up these kids because we had a family that said they're not comfortable bringing their kids to be with these kids."
Wow.
And it was a conversation we had, and I said, respectfully, I think maybe in the bigger picture, that family may need to find a different church.
That's right.
Because we're doing what Jesus called us to do.
Amen.
And I may have overstepped a little bit, but it was this passion inside of me that said, wait a second,
it's not right.
And so I think in our churches, sadly enough, there are times where we have people that are saying we have certain groups that said if we reach this people, then they're not going to give, or they're not going to come, or they're not going to show up. And, thank goodness at Cultivate we don't have that heart. But speaking with all sincerity, if we did, they may just have to find another church.
There you go.
Right.
Because we're going to be what Jesus called us to be and be that church. And I think if we did that, we would forget about what we've been taught. And sometimes in churches, we're taught the same thing just in different ways.
That's right.
And we need to just overcome our bias and our racism. We just need to pursue the heart of God, what Jesus called us to do. Let's be the church. Let's stop worrying about who's going to go where and who's going to show up and how much is going to be given. And let's just do what God's called us to be. And let's be the kingdom and let's reach God's people, because that's the people that Jesus is crying about right now. That's the people that Jesus wakes up early and prays, hey, God, let's do something for these people. That's who Jesus is concerned about.
Amen. It's the God's Not White series going on, Cultivate Church in Alabaster, Alabama for the month of September. We want you to be a part of it. For all the details, godsnotwhite.com. Log on to that, godsnotwhite.com. Closing thoughts and remarks, guys?
Just pray for us. Be praying for us as we try to lead. We want to do what God's called us to do, and we sincerely hope that this is not just a Cultivate Church thing, but that you would be inspired to lead your community and your church in such a way that would be pleasing to God in just pursuing unity through diversity.
That's right. Yeah. Resources, godsnotwhite.com. They're all free. We'll give that stuff.
Are you guys doing like videos and statistics and stuff like that?
Yeah. You can see all that on the website. We've got a video kind of giving the vision of the series and what we're trying to bring out, and there's lots of statistics and articles from like the New York Times and things like that are out there that are very relevant to today. So
very cool. Check it out. Please give it a shot, and if you want to bring them in on a Wednesday, let us know. We'll get it hooked up. We will do whatever we can to get this movement rolling. I mean, that would be just incredible. I mean, Sunday night,
Sunday morning. I mean,
if they need us, just let us know.
They just any way we can serve.
Because there's two of you.
That's right.
That helps.
And we want to help churches. We don't have I don't care where they are. We sincerely have a heart to support and help churches in the kingdom. It's not about our street corner. It is about the kingdom.
That's right.
And we're all better together. And if we'll live life that way, our churches will be healthier and our communities will be healthier.
Amen. Check it out, godsnotwhite.com and cultivatechurch.tv. Log on, learn more. Awesome stuff. Love these guys. Doing great things. Thank you guys for being willing to be different.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, the top 5 and 9 countdown. Your chance to take over the show and more. Plus, we'll have your Bozo Criminal and Verse of the Day to close out the final hour here on The Morning Overload.